Ain't no little demon gonna get me.
It's Drewski McGillicuddy's Gate 2 Movie Review.
Hey everybody, it's Drewski McGillicuddy, and I hope the echo, there's not too much of an echo, I don't know how the audio sound. Maybe eventually I'm going to start using that better camera. I got a background I'm setting up, I'm working on, but we'll talk about that later sometime. I don't know. I have no idea what the hell's going on. But last night, I was scrolling through Amazon Prime, and what did I see other than The Gate 2? Trespassers or some shit like that. Yeah. And in case you haven't seen my The Gate movie review, The Gate stars young Stephen Dorff, and it's about some youths that accidentally open a gateway to hell in their backyard, and then they gotta fight off these little minion demon things. And you know, The Gate is one of my all-time favorite childhood horror films. Like, it was a movie that I constantly rented over and over and over and over again from the video store, and it had some great special effects, like the effects, the monster makeup, everything about anything in this movie. I mean, it's basically a 10 out of 10 masterpiece. I don't remember if I gave it a 9 or a 10. If I gave it a 9, I meant to give it a 10, and if I gave it a 10, I was right the first time. But then there was the sequel, The Gate 2, that came out in 1990, and this was one I always remember staring at the box, but I was like, well, if there's not a third one, then the second one probably wasn't good, you know? That's the mentality of these kids, you know? If it's not a franchise, usually the sequel's not that good. So I had a thing about watching sequels sometimes, and it looks stupid. It didn't have Stephen Dorff in it, and so I just put it off for 30 years. Wait a minute, I was 5 years old in 1990. Anyway, the point is that I put this movie off for years and years and years, even though, if you look at the poster's not that bad. Poster's not that bad. It's not as classic as the first movie's poster. I like the movie. The movie, it's got a 4.8 on IMDb, which is that's criminally low, okay? Because this movie, while lacking the atmosphere and the mood of the original movie, it still has some likable characters, and there's still some decent effects, although not as good as the effects in the original, or the first one, whatever you want to call it. So this one is about Terry. You remember Terry from the first one? He was the nerdy, dorky metal kid, and now he's a teenage, dorky metal teenager. So in this one, Glenn had moved away, which is, rightfully so. Your house was possessed by demons, and there's all kinds of monsters coming out of the walls and shit. So Glenn's house is still abandoned. There's a fence around it, and Terry goes over and has a seance, because his life isn't necessarily going that great. His mother passed away. His father lost his job and had become an alcoholic, because in the first movie, none of the parents were around. And in this movie, none of the parents are around. Now, Terry's dad's around, but he's usually passed out drunk or going to work. Because the one thing about this movie... So Terry goes to Glenn's house because he wants to have a seance, and he wants to open the gateway back up for some odd reason. I don't know if I wasn't paying attention or if they didn't necessarily explain it as good as they could have. Point of the story is he goes over to the Glenn's abandoned house, and he sets up his little ritual, and then he's interrupted by some, typical late 80s, early 90s bullies. And it's weird because there's this girl, Liz, that's hanging out with John and Mo, and that's the crazy thing about this movie. Normally I don't remember people's names. I can't remember half the people's names in any of the Friday the 13th movies. As much as I love all the Friday the 13th movies, I can't remember half the characters' names. But in this movie, I watched it one time and I can remember Terry, I can remember Mo, Liz, Johnny, and that's basically the 4 characters that are in this movie, because this movie is relatively a low budget. But that's what's funny. Like, some of the acting can be a little hammy once in a while, but then you just, for some reason, I grew on Mo most of all. Like, he's supposed to be a bad guy, but you can't help but like him. And even Johnny's like the biggest dick ever, and you just want to see him die, but, you know, hold on, this is a rated R movie. I don't want to spoil anything, but I don't think there's any deaths in the movie. The movie's not very scary. That's another thing that's weird. And then, like, how in the original there were several of these little demon monsters or minions running around, and in this movie there's only one, because when they're doing the ritual, like, they're all picking on him or whatever, and then Liz tells Johnny and Mo to, like, you know, cut him some slack, and they all get invested in this ritual, and they all sit and gather around, and they, you know, perform the ritual, and the doorway, I guess, comes open for a little bit, and here comes one of the little minions, which the 16-year-old kid just promptly pulls out a gun and shoots. But that's beside the point. That's absolutely beside the point. The point is, he puts him in a jar, and then eventually the minion heals himself and comes back to life. And apparently, if you burn stuff, you can make wishes, and your wishes will come true, or some shit like that. I don't know. I wasn't paying attention half the time. Now, it's not that the movie lost me or was slow, because I was pretty much invested in the whole movie. It's just sometimes I just didn't understand what the hell was supposed to be going on. And I don't necessarily know if you're supposed to necessarily understand what the hell's going on, but it's funny because they make all these wishes, and then all their wishes turn to shit. Like, literally, all their wishes turn to shit. And it's kind of interesting. Like, this has a very interesting concept, but it's completely different and devoid of all the atmosphere of the original. It doesn't even, I mean, the original had a magic to it, and this doesn't really have any magic to it. Like, the effects are kind of toned down. You can tell, like, the budget, I don't know if this was straight to video, but the budget definitely wasn't. But, like, overall, like, if this was just its own original movie, it wouldn't be, I don't think, as disregarded as it is, because the fact that it has a 4.8 is a shame, because this movie is far cry better than a 4.8. Even though it's not, like, the greatest, it's definitely worth a watch, and if you're a fan of the original, I would definitely add it to your collection. But yeah, all the characters in this turned out to be likable. Now, there's a cheesy, it's almost a Mortal Kombat Annihilation ending, because the effects, like, I don't know. I mean, I'm conflicted, because, like, some of the effects are kind of, but then some of the effects, you know, are kind of okay. It's kind of, it's a rough decision. But I honestly could recommend everybody going out and watching this for free on Amazon Prime, and possibly, if you're a fan of the original, you might as well go pick it up, because it's definitely, I mean, there's more stuff that I would like to talk about, like the relationship between Terry and Liz, because, you know, she's this cute, I mean, she's the cute girl next door, and she's running around with, you know, the ruffians, so to speak, because Johnny is a complete dick, and Mo is just, you know, following Johnny around, so by association, he's a dick. But then you got this sweet Liz that, like, has no business hanging out with these jackasses. But even though these jackasses end up, like I said, they got some kind of charm to them. Now, like I said, there's no magic to be had in this movie, but there is a certain charm to it, and I think some people that are fans of the original could definitely resonate with the character. I don't know. I have no idea what I'm talking about. Anyway, let's just rate the damn thing. I don't want to go too far into it, because I'm positive that not enough people have seen this movie, so I wouldn't want to spoil the whole thing. All I can tell you is don't expect it to hold up to the original, because it doesn't, but it definitely not a complete shit show like you would expect from a 4.8 rating, even though 90s horror movies tend to get. I mean, look at some of the fucking Halloween scores. I mean, those movies are just terrible anyway. Anyway, don't worry about that. Have you seen? Did I give it a fucking rating? Hold on a second. We're gonna give it a rating of 6.5. It's worth owning if you have the original, if you're a completist. But it's not like something that you could throw on every other day. But it's definitely pretty awesome. I mean, when I first watched it, I gave it like a 7, but the more I thought about it and the effects and stuff, and then there's just some moments of poor acting, but sometimes the acting's not that bad. I don't know. I could ramble on forever about this movie. Maybe I should give it a 7. Fuck it. We're giving it a 7, everybody. It's good enough for me. Hopefully it'll be good enough for you. And if you have seen it, let me know what your thoughts are in the comments section down below. Also, do I sound all right? Can you hear me? Let me know that in the comments section too. Also, be sure to like this video if you liked it. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed. And please, for the love of God, something about be nice to people. It's the holiday season. It's December. Open the doors for little old ladies. Fucking give homeless people a goddamn $1. Hell, buy them a fucking McDouble, because apparently that's a whole nother video for another day. Anyway, just fucking don't be a piece of shit. Oh, and you can follow me on the socials. I really don't know anymore. I'm gonna get better, I swear to God.